There are no studies that prove the power healing of food. That is what most doctors believe. But they couldn't be more wrong. It can take 20 years before the knowledge of the studies of the healing power of food becomes commonplace or used in medical practice. Unfortunately, there is little money available for large-scale studies or to publicize the findings of the role of nutrients and food in health and disease. Unlike in the pharmaceutical industry, there are no food reps that drop off food samples in doctors' offices. Advertising medications directly to patients used to be illegal. They still are in Canada and the European Union. Since direct-to-consumer advertising has been allowed in the United States, we have seen dramatic increases in the use of those drugs. In fact, when a person sees an ad for a drug on TV and then asks their doctor for it, they are likely to get it about 50% of the time. According to a recent article in the New England Journal of Medicine, pharmaceutical advertising and promotion grew from $11.4 billion in 1996 to $29.9 billion in 2005, and direct-to-consumer ads grew by 330%. I can assure you that no one is spending $30 billion promoting the benefits of food and nutrients to support health and cure disease. Even if they are more effective, you don't hear about the best or most effective treatments, just the ones that are most heavily promoted. Now, let's look at the studies on the power healing of food. A great medical journal is the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, which every month publishes more than 300 pages of research with no advertising. This is very unlike other medical journals such as the Journal of the American Medical Association or the New England Journal of Medicine, which have pages and pages of color glossy drug ads. Let's look at one issue of the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. The issue Dr. Mark Hyman discussed in his newsletter was the May 2007 issue. This was because the most important study in that journal was on nutrigenomics, the foundational concept of his book Ultrametabolism. The basic idea is that food is information, not just calories. In this study, researchers from Finland took two groups of people with metabolic syndrome prediabetes and gave each group a different diet. Actually, the diets were almost identical. The only difference was in the type of carbohydrates they consumed for 12 weeks. The first group had wheat, oats, and potatoes as the source of the carbs. The second group ate rye as their source of carbohydrate. After the 12 weeks, the researchers took a fat sample, or biopsy, and analyzed it to find out which genes were turned on or off. In the wheat, oat, and potato group, 62 genes were activated that increased inflammation, oxidative stress, and the stress response, worsened blood sugar balance, and generally amplified all of the forces in the body that lead to obesity, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and Alzheimer's disease. It was a 100% effect and no good genes were turned on. In the rye group, 71 genes were turned on that prevent diabetes, lower cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and improve blood sugar control. This was a 100% good gene effect. Now, if it had been beneficial to a pharmaceutical company, it would have been headline news. But the rye lobby is just not that powerful. Findings from a few other key studies from just that one issue show more of the power healing of food. Supplementing with conjugated linoleic acid caused a modest loss in body fat. It also may prevent cancer, heart disease, and inflammation. Long-term fish consumption protects against arrhythmia or irregular heartbeats. Eating a diet high in monounsaturated fats from olive oil can help reduce blood pressure, while a high refined carbohydrate diet can increase blood pressure. Combining fish oil supplements with regular aerobic exercise helps improve body composition and reduce heart disease risk factors. Lower triglycerides, higher HDL. Women need more choline after menopause or are at risk of liver and muscle damage. If women with HIV are given a multivitamin, they have less anemia and their children also have less anemia. Anemia in HIV is associated with a much faster rate of disease progression and death. In Bangladesh, where arsenic poisoning is common, giving folate, vitamins B12 and B6, choline, and niacin reduce the toxic effects of arsenic. People who eat more meat and saturated fat have a higher risk of skin cancer, and those are just